All right. We got a post from Highlander, who we've already discussed these kind of things before. We got a post from Torsten, and we have a full economic guide post. I think they're prepping for live for that one. As many of you guys know, that they are no longer doing live patches, and RC2 is the last RC that we have, even though nearly everything in the game that I've experienced in both PTU and live is completely broken. So yeah, that's kind of crazy. So we're going to cover economy post from Highlander, engineering post from Torsten, and the engineering guide. The guide we'll probably go over very briefly. So let's start out with the economy one. And this is Howdy Economy Team here. We wanted to go into a bit more detail regarding the reasoning on why we felt the changes we made were possible. This is all related to refining and mining, which they basically took everything that people hated about the changes to salvage and applied them to mining. And yeah, again, that is not that big of a deal to me in the sense of it doesn't feel good, but I understand that I may not understand how these kind of things will work in terms of the money or the economy aspects of that they're going for, the dynamic stuff, because the dynamic stuff isn't a thing yet, right? So it needs more time for us to have that dynamism. And I think we'll really see that over the holiday, because we'll likely have 2 months of a patch and we can see prices go up and down. Regardless, let's read what they have to say. Disclaimer, it's a sandbox, so almost every rule has at least one exception. Our systems prefer rubber bands to hard boundaries. I love when they say it's a sandbox, but they don't let us play with any of the sand. And they mold all the sand themselves and squeeze glue onto it and make sure that we can't do anything. And then when we go and do things, they don't really support that as much, like UEX and things, which I wish they did more support of. For example, prioritizing player trading and social tools and things like that. Regardless, let's get to the meat of the post. Why the refining change for mining? While starter mining vehicles can carry 32 SU of ore, starting freight ships cannot carry 32 SU of cargo. We want to make it easier with the smaller freight ship to transport the refined ores while still getting a full value of what you've mined. It works better to have smaller volumes of refined ore for some upcoming features. I'm assuming that means mining? Or, excuse me, crafting? Why would we want less refined ore for crafting? I have no idea. They know more than we do about what's happening there. What does that mean? No clue. But hopefully we find out soon, and hopefully it's a good thing. I don't see any world where a player would like having less of something, right? But okay. Again, I think they know more than us, and we'll see. What are brackets? They have explained this before in post. We've covered this before in post, but let's go over it again. Brackets are back-end groupings of commodities which help us reinforce the rarity, volume, and supply of resources throughout the verse. They don't have official names for now, so we're calling each bracket by its crate. If something is easy to mine in a large volume, like copper, then locations have or need copper will reflect that, right? Since gold is rarer and harder to find than copper, it's in a smaller bracket. For now, the simplest way to differentiate brackets for traders is by the maximum crate size purchasable. To help, here's some insight on the brackets. Max purchasable crate size. Example of a good ship to trade. Examples of competitive goods. Example of casual goods. Okay, so max purchasable crate size is 32 to 24. Example of a good ship to trade these is Caterpillar or larger. Examples of competitive goods, steel, tungsten, and pressurized ice. Example of casual goods, helium, mercury, and silicon. All right. And then for 16, Starlancer Max, gold, bioplastic, scrap, and astatine. For 8, they say Cutlass Black. Let's go whole A. Demantium and fresh food for that. And then Organimass, which I've never seen before, and iodine, because I don't do any cargo trailing. Where is Organimass? Maybe that's a new thing. And then number 2, of course, they say the Clipper, because they want you to buy that. But yeah, there's better than that. And then diamond, laminate, partillium, AV equipment, and slam. Keep in mind that the commodities within each bracket still have a good deal of variance in how competitive versus how casual they are. Competitive goods have lower supply, higher demand, and are pirate bait. Casual goods have higher supply and lower demand. All goods can still make profits when traded. What values will I likely see affected differently between resources in different brackets? Brackets help represent scarcity, value, stock, and more. Outside of just prices, smaller brackets will be restocked more slowly and have lower limits to their stocks. Many locations simply won't be keeping an Olympic swimming pool worth of Atlassium. It's a rare material. Okay. What brackets mean for mining, salvage, and other resource gathering loops? Honestly, it isn't new for you all. Mining have been using the bracket system for years. We just took a while to apply those same rules everywhere. Quantanium is rarer than Terranite, which is rarer than Hephaestonite, which is rarer than tin, and there's your brackets. 2 SCU, 8 SCU, 16 SCU, and 32 SCU, right? Trading and brackets. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. If you're a solo trader, it's intended to have more challenges while trading smaller bracket goods in larger ships. Mostly, it's not the optimal use of your space and time. It's extra work, especially in dangerous areas, to move a large quantity of smaller crates to your ship than it would be fewer larger crates. That's not even considering that you're fighting for a much smaller stock with other traders. Have they addressed how fucking stupid that is yet? Can we just talk about the fact that some of these things have a respawn timer of like 16 hours and you have to be there at the exact moment it respawns or you don't get it because somebody else on another server that you can't see is fighting you for it? Can we talk about how fucking stupid that is and how unfun that is? So when we talk about the rare commodities, that Quantanium is a significantly more enjoyable thing to experience because you go make it yourself in your own time. It's just hard to find rather than these, which are absolutely horrendous to deal with. Holy shit. I am so sorry. Feedback-wise, that is the worst experience I've ever had in this game. Go down, go to a place, fight somebody for the terminal, get to the terminal just to find out that there's nothing there, and then sit there for hours waiting for it to never respawn. That is a horrendous experience. Okay. Trading and brackets. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. It's extra work, blah, 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 blah. Considering prices. Where is it? It's more efficient. This is where I stopped. It's more efficient for a ship like the Starliner Max to be loading up 16 SU crates than attempting to fill its grid with 8 or 2s. Considering prices in the game are constantly dynamically changing based on demand. By how much? Like a few cents? How have we really seen this truly dynamically change? It does change, but it changes in such small numbers that it's irrelevant, right? It literally changes by a few cents in the past. What has changed recently, I don't know, because I don't do trading because of everything of how the past has worked has not been fun. And, the fact that there's trillions of credits in the game now and Wicklow things go for billions of credits. So why the fuck would I trade Atlassium, right? So until we address that, that player trading is significantly better. But yeah, plus or minus 5% is not going to make the difference. So unless that has changed significantly and you deal with all the other problems you created, I don't see myself interacting with this. But cargo haulers who just like doing cargo hauling missions or cargo hauling trading material, like commodity materials, are definitely going to gain new experiences at the very least, and probably more enjoyable experiences from this. But this is ignoring all these other things that are going on, and I feel like that's unhealthy. But yeah. Okay. Considering the prices in the game are dynamically changing based on demand, again, bullshit. This makes the difference between commodities on the ends of different brackets cleaner. This means that players who know what bracket they want to focus on have more actionable information. And that's true. Like, if you're actually participating in this other economy that they're just creating on their own and not doing anything sandbox related, I still think they have absolutely no clue what sandbox means. Then you will be able to say, Like, I know what materials I'm trading in. Because I'm flying this ship, that makes a lot more sense. That's what they're going for here, and I think that they're achieving that goal based on what they're saying here. There's just all these other outside factors that are getting in the way of it that they have to deal with, and they don't seem to be dealing with. Is there still a point of getting bigger hauling ships? Yes, of course there is, because why wouldn't they make that? They want you to buy them. A Caterpillar full of pressurized ice has the ability to make 20% more than a Starlancer Max full of bioplastic. This, in turn, is about 20% more than a Cutlass full of fresh food, and so on. And a Cutlass isn't 8 SCU boxes, by the way. That's another whole thing with cargo ships that needs to be addressed. You can put a couple 8 SCUs in there, but then what? No matter how efficiently you trade, there's a cap on how much you can make trading 8s in the appropriate size ship. But then what happens when I trade 8s in a big ship? I don't think the amount of time it takes to fill the 8s, 16s makes the 20% difference. But I think that's the part where they can't test because they don't play the way we play. But I think at the high end, because you just can't get the material, it doesn't even matter. If you jump from 8 to 16, you'll make more profit running 16s and ships appropriate to that size. I think they're hoping for that. I don't know if that'll happen, but let me know what you guys think on that. I think people are still going to fly their C2 and buy fresh food, right? And they're going to move 8 SCU boxes in and out of that thing for hours. And they don't care. And it will still affect the economy in the way of stock will go out, stock will go dry. I think that's the biggest thing that they're struggling with, is the thing that I said I'm super frustrated by, is the fact that just stock goes missing and nobody's there. Because the stock is going missing on another server. And it's just very odd. So that's the thing that's just Star Citizen growing pains that we'll see as we get condensed into less and less servers, hopefully. What do the numbers refer to? Maximum container size, yeah. Which you'll see at the outposts that you go to. The smaller outposts only work in smaller container sizes, and they have the more rare materials at them, potentially. What about multi-crew? We restrict brackets by making it more dangerous and slower to trade in smaller brackets. The bigger your ship is, those restrictions will be mitigated by simply having a bigger crew. If you have big enough people to load Starlancer Max with bracket 2 goods efficiently, go for it. Of course, you might need to get a variety of bracket 2 goods, depending on how much the location supplies. Your ship will also end up having a lot of value concentrated in one point, and you got to share with the people, you would assume, right? There have been large exploits. Why are we now getting even more ways of making money? Isn't the timing here bad? Okay, they're actually addressing it. Yes, the exploits from the last 2 patches have been rough for the game and the economy. As a result, a full wipe is likely at some point down the line. Not saying 4.5 down the line. I don't think they're ready, just so everybody knows. I don't think that they have fixed the major exploit. We'll see. I don't think that they have addressed the major exploit yet. When they do, they will almost certainly address the prices. Let's speak about abundance of earning you are getting currently. If you feel like you are gaining more UEC than you can spend, that's intentional. When we look at the badly needed sinks and cost decisions later next year, bro, later next year? I can't wait that long, dude. I don't think I can wait that long. They have had 2 years to address this. And I feel like, personally, these things are not connected to so many of the other problems that the game has technically. But maybe they do. But yeah, full wipe, yikes, dude. It has to happen. When there's trillions and trillions and trillions of credits going around, and there's like 30 people playing the game, so it's just weird. That said, we want feedback and analytics on those numbers as they are now, so we can correctly implement those sinks. How? We need the wipe in order to do that, right? Which is why they're going to wipe. For now, you might find that your UEC earnings are much higher than your expenses necessitate, but rest assured, the values will start making sense down the line. I mean, that's great to hear. Hey, I don't want to be mad that they're talking about sinks. I'm just frustrated that it's not sooner because I think it's so important. The sooner we get it in, the better. Because if it's too much early, who cares? Address it, deal with it. Let's get these in ASAP because they are so important. Because we don't have as much as a hanger fee, right? Tier 1 is the sink? Nah. It has to be bigger than just your FPS weapons, dude. Tier 1's not the sink. All right, let's see the engineering post now from Saverals, and that's Torsten. If you guys are familiar with Torsten, switch to this. Thank you all for the feedback we've been receiving, especially in the last couple days. Before I provide a summary of the recent updates, I want to mention a few things first. We will publish a guide that will give in-depth information around engineering, including giving insight on future changes, okay? Naturally, we're also still in active development for the engineering gameplay feature as stated in the ISC. And as frustrating as it might sound for some, this requires a lot of iteration to get right, especially in our PTU testing environment. That needs to be understood. With that said, the timing to deliver this is bad. And they have to recognize that. They have to look internally and go, do we want to deliver this over the only time in the next year that we will likely have a 2-month patch instead of the 1-month patches like we've been doing, where players can easily go, all right, I can see the updates. I can see that they're making progress. I can see things moving forward because as you're playing the shitty system on live, you see the improvement on the PTU. We will not see that most likely during this cycle. So I am all for throwing engineering in and sucking it up and dealing with it. It's just going to be more shit because we have to wait 2 months instead of 1 for it to get better, even if it gets slightly better, right? For example, the armor system is currently one of the systems that will iterate on quite heavily moving forward, like implementing thresholds so that smaller caliber projectiles cannot damage or penetrate stronger armor. Was something that was expected, and we'll see how that goes. Let's talk about time to disable and time to kill, and a little bit about the shield topics, since both topics caused some confusion. You will have noticed we went through various changes throughout this PTU cycle, but fundamentally, we still want chips to be disabled more often than them exploding. We still want to allow players to have access to all the gameplay that comes with disabled chips. It also still stands true that experiencing a critical failure, or your ship exploding will be mainly driven by the state of the power plant. That is not happening, right? Currently implemented, there are 4 scenarios where ship can explode, aka hard death. If power plant goes critical after being destroyed and the player fails to repair or remove it, given in a given amount of time, which the power plant is dependent, which is power plant dependent, this shouldn't happen all the time. Okay? But it does. If one critical part of the ship is destroyed, aka is at 0 health, it has a chance to cause the power plant to experience a critical failure. Is that chance rolled every time the ship is shot when it's at 0 health? It sounds like it is, which means it will guarantee to cause a power plant failure. Players will still have the option to counter this by repairing or removing the power plant within a given amount of time. The given amount of time is this buffer bullshit that they just put in, which you're going to die then. Or are you not going to die when you pull the power plant out? So if you just pull the power plant out, can you just not be killed? 3, if one of the ships is hit by a very powerful projectile, i.e. an Aurora, that does a lot of damage to the ship, and it will explode. An Idris railgun hit should still take out an arrow in a single hit. If all critical parts, of course, they bring up the Idris, because, buy the Idris, guys. If all critical parts are destroyed and the ship is still being shot at persistently, the ship at some point will be fully destroyed and explode. Currently, this is tuned to require 10 times the whole damage before this occurs, but it's subject to further balance. I mean, I think shit is dying so fast. That doesn't seem like it's taking 10 times the damage. But you can, tell me I'm wrong, but it just feels like, what? Feels like 10% more, and that's it. As you can tell, there's no guarantees for ships to always explode, and we want players to have the opportunity to perform field repairs or board disable ships. I don't know what I'm missing, but yeah. The chance of a ship exploding through power plant critical failure is overall lower than 30%, though, and we've seen some bugs to hear that explosions occur more often than they should, and we're working on getting them fixed. I feel like when I go down to zero hull, it is instantly a power plant failure 100% of the time. Is anybody having a different experience than me? Because for me, it is a 100% of the time power plant failure when my hull goes to zero. That has been consistently every single time I have tested it. Granted, I have not tested it, many times because I know we'll be testing it on live, and I'm sorry, but we have Evocati, we have PTU, and then you use live now as a testing environment more than you ever have before. Excuse me for not wanting to freely test for them all the time. Okay. However, we want to still adhere to our established design goals, such as extremely strong weapons having the ability to do serious damage to lighter and less armored ships, or even take them out in single hits. And though the patch notes yesterday shared changes we did around ship overkill mechanic did not go into enough detail, we fundamentally want to prevent scenarios where disabled ships are quasi-invulnerable without negating existing gameplay loops like piracy or component salvage. We appreciate that. I think that they should have made that very clear as to why they were doing it. The above is emulating some of the highly detailed physical damage simulation that Maelstrom will eventually bring to Star Citizen. Parts will have structural integrity and at some point no longer be able to withstand the sustained damage and break apart. To summarize, ships should be disabled a lot more often than explode. That doesn't feel like what's happening. Critical failure should still allow you to recover and escape. That is not happening because NPC ships still continue to shoot at you when you have a critical failure, thus making that a never-ending loop that never stops, and you will never be able to repair your ship. Disabled ships can explode if enough damage is applied, okay? And that's what happens every time because nobody stops shooting. As for shields, we're still working on a fix that causes redundant shields to not auto-activate for ships with more than 2 shield generators. Additionally, the patch notes from yesterday made it sound if we recently made drastic changes to shield behavior, and when in reality, the update was meant to convey how it already functions in 4.4. Currently, all shield generators contribute to overall health pool of the shield, but only the powered shield generators contribute to shield recharge rate. Okay. We really appreciate all your feedback, and I guarantee that we hear you. We review and digest your feedback daily, have passionate discussions about the best way to address your concerns. I hope you understand that we can't reply to all your posts, but we do read, and our excellent player experience team is constantly in touch with you all to keep us in check. We knew that the release of engineering would be a challenge due to the amount of the changes that we've introduced. It can be even trickier to get things right. Some of the balance changes we did early in this P2 cycle have been temporarily reverted to ensure that we have a more stable base and balance and eliminate factors that could cause unforeseen edge cases. As mentioned during the recent ISC, engineering gameplay is here to stay, and we will do our best to work with you all to make it the best it can be. Cheers. I always appreciate that. I think it's very clear that this is going to be an ongoing thing that's going to change, but I think we have to keep hammering home that no matter what they say here, our experiences are different. Check the comments. Is there another post? I'm not going to scroll for 16 hours looking for a comment. So no, I will not check the comments. Just link me the other posts if there was another reply or something, please. In the meantime, while you're doing that, let's look at the future of engineering. I'm just going to scroll past the stuff that we already know, if you guys don't mind. Power plants, weapons coolers, utility items, shield generators. Still no gravity gen listed there. Their physical elements are engineering. Vehicle components come in size from 0 to 4, 0 being the smallest, 4 being the largest. Okay, we know all this. There's also a set of classes. Military components have higher durability and power output, but demand more resources. Stealth parts focus on heat control and signature reduction to keep your ship hidden, but they'll wear down faster. This leaves you with meaningful choices based on your intended role. Okay, they just gave those 2 examples, but didn't say anything else. What is this? Okay, competition, industrial, military, and stealth. Let's zoom out a little bit so we can see everything. There we go. Okay. So civilian is like decent on wear and tear and is balanced on everything. Competition has super high heat, very high mass, which is surprising, and the second highest output. Industrial has the second highest health, second highest output tied, the best wear and tear. Is this good wear and tear, or will this wear and tear faster? I'm not sure. Higher max heat, higher heat, and like bad signatures. Let's use stealth. Yeah, look, stealth is max signature, so obviously this will have a high signature for stealth. And this is good wear and tear, I think. Where stealth's wear and tear is the worst. So there you go. So yeah, this is the best wear and tear is industrial, but the wear and tear system seems completely a non-factor because you just repair or your ship explodes, and I don't think we'll ever see it become a thing. Military, the highest health and the highest output, and signatures very bad, and then you have your stealth. Engineering resources, we know about these, so I don't think we need to look at that too much right now. Power distribution generally follows 3 performance ranges. Two most common modes are nav, engineering console. I think most of this is pretty basic. Okay, ballistic weapons offer higher penetration, letting you breach the ship more effectively once the armor health is reduced. Energy weapons are more effective against shields and bringing armor health down. I don't think any of this is currently achieving their goals. And that is, energy weapons still have enough pen that there's no point in using ballistic weapons. So like once I take the or time to kill is so low that once I take the shields and armor down, that energy weapons still do a good enough job to take out the components / the hull to create that 30% thing that is definitely happening 100% of the time. All right, wear and tear is the full system coming soon. So here we go. Over time, if components are not properly maintained, they will suffer wear and tear that reduces their effectiveness. This degradation increases resource consumption, raises heat output, and heightens the chance of malfunctions. It's essential to maintain components to keep them operating correctly. As components continue running, wear will build up, leading to damage that affects their performance. The more wear they accumulate, the less efficient they become, eventually reaching a point where they fail and take damage rapidly. If left unchecked, this can threaten the ship's ability to operate. To prevent this, you must monitor component status and repair or replace them when needed, whether during fight or once safely docked. Keeping the ship healthy is an ongoing responsibility and the key part of keeping your crew in the fight. Yeah, this is, if I can repair and bring it up to full health, there's no such thing as a wear and tear system, because the current fuel system, I mean, I have to land and gather and add more quantum fuel all the time. So you might as well repair as you're doing it, and the cost is nominal. So I can't see this ever playing a role at the current point in the game. I just do not see it playing a role at all. Let's see what they say about repair, because I think this is the most broken thing currently. Repair gameplay is essential to extending the life of all the components of your vehicle as a whole. It's recommended you always have a repair tool available and monitor the health of all your components via the engineering screen, which we don't have an engineering screen on ships in the cockpit, which kind of sucks, I think. It's crucial, especially when you're in active combat on larger ships and pushing your vessel to its maximum output, to have some of your crew fully focused on investigating the battle damage and managing whatever is needed. Repairing and even fighting fires in extreme cases, which again, these aren't extreme cases. I feel like they're happening all the time. In single-seater ships, you can perform limited auto repairs via MFD screens to ensure that you get back to safe harbor for fully completed repair. Okay. To be able to repair with the Cambio SRT or the multi-tool, you need these things. Okay. The key to catching issues early and deciding whether a component needs repair by monitoring its health. You can restore its components that are completely destroyed back to a functional state while in a fight, but you won't be able to bring them back to full health. To reach 100%, they need to be serviced or replaced at a station. This is simply not true, right? You can absolutely bring them back to full health currently with your tools. It's one of the bigger problems, I think, with the future of the game if that stays. But it sounds like it will not. Stage 1 is basic support, and these are the ships that only have basic support. And that's an incredibly long list. 2 is partial functionality. That is a pretty long list. Some of the noted ones, which were said to have functionality, are like the hull A. I saw that in patch notes, but apparently not. And then fully enabled is the longest list, so let's give them some credit there. But it's still, that is a lot of ships that still need it. So yeah, that's where we stand there. I don't think anybody linked me the replies, did they? Abe did. Okay. Here we go. Yes, we're aware that critical parts still die too fast, something we've accounted for in early weapon balance update. But stated above, we reverted these changes and had to mitigate the part damage as good as we could. Something very high on our list for upcoming improvements. All right, so we're just fucked for 4.5. That's basically what that means. It's like, yeah, not enough time. We're going on holiday, and they deserve that holiday. And I think we're just going to deal with this problem for until the rest of the year. And that's that. So that was those posts, and I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. But I think they're doing the right thing, getting these things in early. I think it just totally sucks the timing of it, because I think this year has been really nice that whenever a patch did suck, you didn't have to wait long to get another one. And this is the longest we'll have to wait. And this patch is going to have some suck in it. And that's the end of it. It was always going to. So, yeah. We're just going to have to suck it up, and we'll see. All right? That's it. There's not much else to it, man. We're just going to have to deal with it and keep giving their feedback. I think the biggest part of the feedback here is, am I crazy? I'm going to ask you guys in Twitch chat, and if I put this up on YouTube, the YouTube comments, 100% of the time when my ship health goes to 0, I get a critical failure and my ship explodes. 100% of the time. I don't know what this 30% thing is, but I am dying 100% of the time. When those things occur, where it sounded like they should occur at 30% of the time, I must not be understanding what he's saying in the post, or it's just not achieving what they're going for. But I don't think I'm crazy on that standpoint. It's been every single time I've experienced it. If I didn't deal with things, I was going to die. I think it is 30% per instance of damage taken. And the NPCs, because I'm only fighting against NPCs when I do this, because that's the kind of content that I interact with in the game more than anything. So I tried to do my day-to-day normal, what I would do, instead of all these bullshit tests of standing still and firing at things that are not real-world scenarios at all. I tried to go into the game and experience real-world scenarios, and if I was disabled, or if I was if I did have a critical failure and I went to go repair that critical failure, no matter what I did, it would go back to 0, and it would eventually fail, right? So, yeah. All right. That's the post. Let me know what you guys think, and it's going to be a rough one.